And Hamdan? He just waits, holding his breath, praying that this is not the moment she decides to walk away, a love on the edge. The silence between them stretches, thick and suffocating. Hamdan watches his wife with bated breath, his heart pounding in his chest. She stands there, arms still wrapped around herself, her eyes filled with so much pain that it physically hurts him to look at her. He takes another hesitant step forward, but she doesn't move. She doesn't reach for him. She doesn't soften. And that scares him more than anything. Hamdan, voice low, filled with desperation, say something. Please, she inhales sharply, blinking rapidly as more tears threaten to spill. When she finally speaks, her voice is quieter, but the anger in it is no less sharp. Wife, soft but cold. What do you want me to say, Hamdan? That I understand? That I forgive you? That I believe you when you say you love me? Because right now, I don't know if I do. Hamdan flinches as if she just struck him. A deep ache settles in his chest, twisting like a knife. He shakes his head, stepping even closer, Hamdan pleading, his voice breaking, don't say that. Don't, wife interrupting, her frustration boiling over. Then what do you want from me? She throws her hands up, exasperated. Her emotions are spilling over now, anger, hurt, betrayal, all of it crashing into her at once. She doesn't hold back anymore. Wife, voice rising, tears running down her face. I spent so long believing that you would always protect me, that no matter what, you would stand by me. And then, when your father looked you in the eye and told you to leave me, you froze. You let him humiliate me. Do you have any idea how that felt? Hamdan's throat tightens. His hands curl into fists at his sides, not in anger at her, but at himself. Because she's right. And he hates himself for it. Hamdan whispering, full of guilt, I know. Wife laughing bitterly through her tears, no, Hamdan. You don't know. Because if you did, you wouldn't just be standing here telling me how much you love me, you would have shown me back then. But you didn't. Her voice cracks, and she quickly wipes her tears away, as if she is tired of crying over him. She turns away, her hands gripping the edge of the table, trying to steady herself. Hamdan steps forward again, this time reaching for her, but she stiffens under his touch. Hamdan, voice desperate, barely above a whisper, I can't lose you. She squeezes her eyes shut, exhaling shakily. His hands gently move to her arms, holding her, not forcing, just holding. Begging her to listen. She stays still for a moment before pulling away again, and that small action sends a fresh wave of pain through him. Wife shaking her head, her voice barely above a whisper, I don't know if I can do this, Hamdan. His entire body goes still. A cold fear creeps into his chest, making it hard to breathe. Hamdan swallowing hard, voice shaking, don't say that. Please. Don't say that. She looks at him then, really looks at him, and for the first time, he sees it, the exhaustion in her eyes. She is tired of fighting, tired of hurting. And that scares him more than anything. Hamdan stepping closer, his voice raw, I know I made a mistake. I know I let you down. But please, please don't give up on me. On us, she inhales sharply, biting her lip. She doesn't answer right away. Instead, she looks away. Her hands tightening into fists at her sides. Hamdan watches her, his heart in his throat, waiting, praying, that she won't walk away. The room feels too small, the silence too loud. And then, finally, she speaks, her voice so quiet he almost doesn't hear it. Wife whispering, broken, I don't know if love is enough anymore, Hamdan. And with that, she turns and walks away, leaving him standing there, shattered, standing on the edge of losing her. The door closes behind her, and with it, the weight. His breath catches in his throat. His entire body feels frozen, paralyzed by the fear that she might not come back. That this might be the moment she finally gives up on him. He presses a hand against his chest, trying to steady the storm raging inside him, but nothing helps. The silence in the room is deafening. He paces, running a hand through his hair, his mind racing. How did it come to this? How did he, a man who once thought he could protect everything he loved, end up here, on the verge of losing the only person who truly mattered? Minutes feel like hours. The house feels colder without her presence. He clenches his jaw, shaking his head, refusing to accept that this is how it ends. No. He won't let her walk away. He won't let her believe, even for a second, that he doesn't love her enough to fight for her. Without another thought, he rushes out of the room, his heartbeat hammering in his ears. He doesn't know where she's gone, but he will find her. He has to. Confronting the pain, he finds her outside, standing in the courtyard. The night air is cold, and she stands with her arms wrapped around herself, staring up at the sky. He stops for a moment, watching her, realizing just how fragile she looks. His strong, fiery wife, now standing there, broken because of him. His chest tightens painfully. He steps forward, his voice soft but firm, Hamdan low, determined. I won't let you walk away like this. She stiffens at the sound of his voice but doesn't turn around. He takes another step closer, Hamdan desperate, voice shaking. Please look at me. She exhales shakily before finally turning. Her face is streaked with tears, her eyes filled with a deep, unbearable sadness. Seeing her like this, knowing he is the reason, makes something inside him crack. Wife softly, painfully, Hamdan. I can't keep fighting for someone who won't fight for me when it matters. Her words cut deep, and for the first time, Hamdan feels true panic. He steps forward, his hands reaching out to hold hers, but she doesn't move. She just stares at him, waiting to see if he will finally understand what she needs. Hamdan voice breaking, his grip tightening slightly. I am fighting. Maybe I failed before, maybe I hurt you in a way I can never take back, but I swear to you, I have never stopped fighting for us. And I never will. Wife shaking her head, her voice cracking. Then why did you let him do that to me, Hamdan? Why did you let your father say those things? Why didn't you stand up for me then? Hamdan closes his eyes for a brief second, inhaling sharply. When he looks at her again, his eyes are filled with pain. Hamdan softly, full of regret. Because I was scared. Not of my father, not of losing my title, but of losing you in a way that I couldn't fix. I thought if I stayed quiet, if I handled it carefully, I could find a way to protect both you and my family. But I was wrong. And my silence hurt you more than anything else. Tears slip down her cheeks again, but she doesn't pull away this time. Her hands tremble slightly in his, and Hamdan holds them tighter, his eyes never leaving hers. Hamdan barely above a whisper, raw and honest. You are my home. Not my palace, not my family's name, you. If you walk away from me now, I have nothing left. But if you give me one more chance, I swear to you, I will never make you feel alone again. She stares at him, her breath shaky, her heart waging its own war. She wants to believe him, wants to fall into his arms and let herself trust again. But the wound is deep, and trust once broken is not so easily repaired. Seconds pass. Then, finally, she speaks, her voice barely above a whisper, but enough to shake his